So in the end here, you can see I really dialed a lot of it way back, and I kept some of it on those little pieces on the head, and then I wanted to put one nice stamp right on that piece there on his wings, and that was it. So we're going to go in here, and in the upcoming pieces here, the upcoming section of the video, I'm going to rebake out these textures, which is what you just saw right there, and I'm going to bring this back into Maya. So I wanted to bake these out as high resolution as I needed for most pieces, which is 4K for a lot of them. Things like the eyes got a little bit less. Now on the Maya side, the same way I was searching for the pieces, I this time went in and searched for and replaced the versions so that I could just very quickly get in and version up all of my textures and shaders. And so that's what it's looking like right now, which is pretty cool. You can see some of that detail on there. The design that I projected onto that wing piece came through really nicely. You can really see the strength of the V-Ray IPR here. Love that thing, totally amazing, V-Ray RT. And a lot of what I want to do here is take some notes and go back and start working on this more. And I just want to give myself a final bit of guidance for myself to really take this across the finish line. And so you can see their leather glossiness on spec seems weird, or leather glossiness or spec, less red in the leather, more orange. And so I'm just really getting in, and I'm trying to look at all these little pieces. This is pretty cool right here on this area on the beak. You can see my note to myself: finish engraving on metal or tail or wings. So I want to figure out something there. And all of this section is really about doing a lot of these renders up close and really making sure everything's up to par. And so you can see that note was a big one. Fix UV on eyebrow piece. I actually felt like the textures looked really low res on the eyebrows, and that was a big problem. So I needed to go back and scale those up a little bit. These are a little bit more conceptual, adding additional engravings on the beak, all of that stuff. I need to be mindful of where that's going to lead me in the end, and really find a vision for myself for the design and what I want this thing to, the story that I want this bird to represent. So, and that's really it. So going through, and now on the shaders, starting out with some of the leather. And so you can see, rather than bouncing back to Substance Painter, I am choosing to insert a color remap, and I am on the specular glossiness. And I'm going to start dialing this right in my shader here. So I'm going to let that play, and you can just kind of see what happens, and I'll chime in when I need to. So my remap ramp is all about trying to find where I want that high and low point to be. And so you can see the values I was typing in there to really get that dialed in. And sometimes I do it by typing in values, sometimes I just do it by eye. And I'm really, you can see I'm kind of shaking the mouse around there because I can refresh certain areas of the IPR by tracking the mouse movement. I'm also going in and I was experimenting with breaking the connection to the IOR map because I wanted to see what it was gaining me. And you can see I'm utilizing the set A, set B function in the history, and I'm able to just flip back and forth and really get in there and see what I'm, these little fine-tuning bits that I need to do for the leather. So switching render layers over to the Studio Light setup, seeing what it looks like. The Studio Light is going to reflect some darker areas, if you remember when we were setting up the blocked out shaders. But you can see it's looking pretty cool overall. Even the areas that are pretty dark are looking good. The bunker, looking weird as always. You can actually see I'm using a slightly modified version of the light setup here. I only have 2 of the shader balls in my scene. All of these files will be saved out for you to play around with, but even in the kind of weird bunker, there's definitely it still feels integrated and the shaders feel balanced, and it's pretty cool. So back over to the Studio Light setup here. There's just some final little stuff I wanted to look at, and you can see now I'm messing around with some of the lighting a little bit to just see how I wanted to see what it looked like under softer light conditions with a little bit less of that black showing up. The same thing I mentioned earlier, I will do this sometimes, but when I'm doing this, I don't intend for shaders to be dialed based off of new light settings. I'm really just trying to see how the shaders react in a slightly different environment. There's a really fine line that you need to be careful of when you're modifying your lights in your LookDev light rig like this. For a lot of our artists, we prefer that they don't even do it, and that they just really stick to the set of lights that are predetermined in that LookDev scene file. So in this right here, this is getting that image set up for the preview of this video series. And so I'm going in on the backyard dome, and I'm rotating it around, and I'm getting the settings dialed in, and going to launch a full 1080p render, and we'll see that coming up right here. And there it is. Beautiful.